Good morning and welcome to Sunday's Join the Dots. Now I'm recording this on Saturday and I waited till Saturday because I really wanted to catch the end of the week, because one of the biggest numbers or the most important numbers that we're going to see in this period was the US jobs number, which did exactly what we said. It's awful. Jobs everywhere. Europe, Germany, UK, China, awful. And that is your leading indicator, because it's not going to get better soon, and therefore the economies just get worse and worse and worse. It's that simple. No jobs, no consumption, economy slows, more jobs go, less consumption, economy slows, until you hit the bottom. It's another journey like prices of houses, which I've talked about many times. House prices, you can't stop once they start falling. They will keep on falling until they hit the bottom. It's a long oil tanker journey. It's not a speedboat. You can't cut rates a quarter, a half, because you're always behind the curve. And as you cut those rates, all it's saying is we're in more trouble, we're in more trouble, we're in even more trouble. And this time, of course, the ability to go into a mad, manic QE printing program like 09 or 20 can't happen. We've got inflation everywhere. Well, the poor and the middle class have got inflation. The rich, it just doesn't matter, does it? How much do they spend a month on things that they need? So their inflation is almost zero. And that's why they can't see it. Or that's why they create it for you. It's all about control. Everything in this world is about control. So let's go through the week. Okay, so jobs. I had to wait till Friday to see that number. It was atrocious, as we knew it would be. I did have a piece written for today, which was going to be Rafi Farber and his 7 prices for silver. And I was going to go through that. But you know, it's not so important now. There are other things, every day things come that are far more important. So trying to find the right selection of articles for you is very difficult. But I will run through Rafi's 7 prices for silver very quickly. Okay, and I'll send you the link so you can read it yourself. It's only 15 minutes, I think, but it's good. But there's one key flaw. Everyone who talks about silver, and I mean everyone, I mean all the people that I've given you, all of them, never point out that the silver price in 1980 was to do with a group of people, I think it was Nelson Bunker Hunt, trying to corner the silver market. It was not inflation. And every textbook, every lecture, everyone talks about inflation causing that silver. No. A group of very rich people tried to corner the silver market, so the price went ballistic. Now, when you start to use that price in any comparisons, it's false, isn't it? Because it was a false price. So it's false to try and compare that price to the period now and associate it with that. So bear that in mind. Everything you see on silver, you have to understand. And the same with gold, because at the same time, would you believe it, Russia went into Afghanistan for the first time and gold leapt. Okay? Because of that, not because of inflation. Again, every textbook, every journal, every rewritten bit of history, which is growing every day now, every bit of history is being rewritten, isn't it? Okay? So frustrating, because people can't see beyond their nose, and they can't see beyond what's written on the textbook. But the textbook's wrong. I was there, I was selling gold. I was selling gold. I know why it went up. I know why people were buying. Anyway, Rafi Farber. Okay, so his first number for silver is $118, which is CRB adjusted. But again, be careful. The Bunker Hunt period comes into that. The second price is $172.54, CPI adjusted. But again, be careful, because you're adjusting it to the 1980 price, which was false. It was just false. What else have we got? The Dow Jones Industrial Index. We're comparing the Dow Jones Industrial Index with the high of silver in 2011. Now, the high in 2011 wasn't that fake. but it was only temporary. It was really, very, very temporary. It was for a few days. if anyone got more than 47 on the sell side, they did ever so well. So when people say it was 50, no, it wasn't. It was 47.50, and it was only there for a few days. Again, detail, 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 detail. If you don't do the detail, you don't get the right answer. Simple as that. Okay, so he comes up with $188 there. His fourth one is $236. That's based on a gold adjusted ounce of 15 to 1 gold to silver. Now, I will tell you that my gold to silver prediction, and we're at 86, 87 at the moment, is somewhere around 30 to 40, but in a total crisis, silver often reacts much faster because the public come in absolutely gunning for it. And of course, all the big boys have got their positions, the market's got its position, and the marginal effect of all the public suddenly waking up to silver can take it to a ridiculous level, and that can be 15 times, okay? So here we could see silver at 236. I still don't think that's high enough. And I will go with Greg Mannarino here. And if you take Greg's subscription service, which is absolutely superb, if you take that service, you'll see that Greg has always been talking 500 to 800 on silver, 500 to 800. And I'd go along with that. Rafi's fifth figure is 265, adjusted to the S&P 500 in 2011. I think the S&P will be far lower than it was then. So therefore, if you're going to adjust, if you're going to rate it on the relative values, you're going to be wrong. Then he does a quantum leap to number 6. And he sees it at 2,670, but he's basing it on 1980 silver, which is garbage, because it was unless a very rich group of people try and corner the silver market again. And you know, that is not impossible, because if you think about it, we've got a structural deficit of 200 million ounces a year on a production of 800 million ounces a year, or 980 million ounces a year, sorry. So we've got a structural deficit of 20%. So if people came in and really, really cornered the market, and we've got some people out there, Bezos, Gates, Buffett, etc., who could do that just with their personal wealth. Musk, he's just agreed a $1 trillion deal, hasn't he? So 2670, and then his last one is $3,006. Right, okay, let's come back to reality now, okay? So we know the jobs have gone, okay? We know, I'm just trying to make my phone line up, that's it, good. Right, so let's do a quick review of our performances this week. Gold is up 4% in 5 days, silver up 4%, 1 month 6% and 8%, 1 year to date, 37%, 25%. The shares are up 9 and 5 for the week, 12 and 18 for the month, and 85 and 62 for the year. That's the effect of corporate leverage. Now, people will say to me, yeah, but Agnico Eagle Mines, it's gone up so fast, Mike. I mean, you know, where's it going to stop? Isn't it too high? I'm going to link you one here from Rick Rule, who this week came out with a piece. And within the piece, he talked about Agnico Eagle Mines. Thank you, Rick. And he talked about the fact that it was cheaper now, in his view, than it was before the 100% price rise. Yes, on all the metrics he uses, it's cheaper now than it was before it rose 100%. That's the beauty. As I said to you, as the price rises, there is more and more benefit, there's more and more attraction, there's more and more reason for people to buy it. The price earnings multiplies. The corporate leverage increases. Okay, so I will link that piece, and I really think it's worth you watching. Not just because it's my stock, Agnico Eagle, but because it's a principle of what happens in these markets at this time, which you won't be aware of, and no one on the television will tell you of, because they don't understand it, to be quite honest. People like Rick Rule do. 2 pieces by Francis Hunt, they're very important. One is the UK 30-year gapping higher. This is the bond crisis that's coming. Okay, and we're getting closer. When you start to see gaps on a 30-year chart, you know you've got a problem, all right? And what he sees is the substitution by central banks, by investors, by serious funds, by everyone, selling long-term debt, buying gold and silver. It makes so much sense. It really does make so much sense. So that's the first piece from Francis Hunt. The second one is the financial reset has just begun. Just watch the first 10 minutes if you haven't got 50. Watch the first 10. Listen to every word. It's a superb piece. Okay, Francis Hunt, the Market Sniper. 2 links I'll send you. Then just to finish, we go on to health and justice, because again, I know it won't seem logical to a lot of people because they're not thinking it through. But health and justice, when they're both corrupted and falling apart, will affect markets, will affect the public, will affect the mood, will affect politics, will affect everything. So on one side you see the health and the fights in the Senate yesterday with Kennedy being grilled was disgusting. It's the only word to use. It's disgusting. There was a massive lobby of people who were farmer fed with propaganda, farmer propaganda fed down their throats. We'll give you $1 million if you say this. We'll give you yes, it is. It's so simple. You don't have to prove it. You just have to think. So there was Robert Kennedy on his own being smashed by everyone. But he won easily. If you think. If you think. If you don't think, you probably think he got beaten. No, he didn't. One interesting thing came out of that I learned yesterday, I only learned it yesterday, Robert Kennedy. Why is his voice like it is? Do you know why? Vaccine injured. Amazing, isn't it? Not this time, a long time ago. Vaccine injured. When his uncle was president, JFK, the American society had a 3% chronic illness problem. It's now 78% in the adult community. 3% is now 78%. That's why the whole of the CDC were a disgrace. In fact, the whole of the US health service is a disgrace. And the doctors are all to blame as well, because they peddle the lies, they peddle the drugs, they peddle anything, and they get paid a fortune. It's all got to come apart. And that's why I say it's so instrumental in everything we're doing, so fundamental. It's got to fall apart and be rebuilt. And to be rebuilt, you have to go through chaos, like the long-term debt markets, like most of the markets. And then you come on to justice and you see this Graham Linehan incident in the UK, where a comedian comes back from a trip and is met by five armed police officers. If that isn't a psychopathic show of utter evil, I don't know what is. Psychopath is a word I'm going to say time and time and time and time again in the next 3 months, because we are in the grip of psychopaths. From the WEF, from the UN, from the WHO, from every supranational body, they're run by psychopaths. It's a big point to leave on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We've had a super week on the markets. We've had a super week with our gold and silver, super week with my shares, but that doesn't mean they're your shares. You have to do your own research. You have to do your own work. I'll send you the Rick Rule link. Have a look, think about it, apply it to the shares that you're looking at. Okay, and then make your own decisions, but make them for the journey, not for the 1, 2, 5, 10-day trade. Okay, these shares were down at the beginning of the week, now they're well up. Trader will have lost. I don't trade. I'm investing for the journey. Okay, thank you very much.